Right, all important waggler choice now. This is probably open water fishing this time of year. It's probably the most important way of fishing, mate.
Yeah, it's an exciting way, isn't it?
It's
proper good when they rock up.
It just takes you right back to like when they didn't have poles and everything, didn't they, mate?
Doing things properly, isn't it? Yeah.
Can I tell you how much I love it? Honestly, just for me, it doesn't get any better than fishing a waggler. Now, a lot of people struggle with it, choosing the right wagglers. Now, a lot of anglers will go for sort of like these more traditional ones. Now, the trouble with them is they sort of wobble through the air. They don't go straight and they make a lot of commotion when they're entering the water. So
I think you're being too nice about them.
Yeah, they're horrendous.
They're shocking.
So throw them away. Honestly, you don't want to be going
big, fat,
anywhere
stubby,
near.
horrible ones. They're just not right, are they?
No, they wobble through the air. They're making all that commotion. They're no good at all. Jay's fishing a little bit different to me in the waggler. I'm proper old school, aren't I?
Well, I think it's just different venues that we fish as well, though.
Definitely.
Isn't it? The bigger and angrier and nastier the venue are, the more robust and, I mean, versatile you're not versatile, but...
No, it's one of them. I mean, we could argue all day about it, and that's the beauty of this. That's why we're having this discussion now, because I fish a certain way, Jay fishes a certain way. You know, so what's right and what's wrong. It's brilliant. I much prefer to fish these kind of wagglers. I'll show you the setup in a sec, we'll go through it. But these loaded carp crystals, it's very important in my opinion that you're using loaded floats rather than unloaded floats, because you don't want to put that harsh non-toxic shot on your line, do you, mate?
Yeah, they're just a pain for snapping your line and things like that, aren't they?
Yeah, there's ways around it, like you could double your line up, or you could put a bit of silicone on, but then the shots always fall off.
Yeah, it's
We
fiddly.
don't like fiddly things, mate, do we?
No, I like
simple. It nice and simple, like me. So there's them kind of wagglers. I'll use a 3, a 3.5 and a 4 gram in them. The other wagglers are the inserts, so when like there's a lot more F1s in the water, I'll use, like we did last time in episode 3, I used these ones, these loaded inserts. I think they're fantastic, absolutely brilliant for like reading the bites.
Resistance as well to them, yeah.
Definitely, and especially for like great big wobbly carp and certainly F1s that have seen it all before, it all comes down to resistance. So if a fish can't feel the resistance at all, that's when them come into play, in my opinion. Now, Keith Easton, lovely chap called Keith Easton, has done some proper wagglers. I said I wouldn't use these kind of floats anymore, but mate, how good are these?
Yes, I'm obsessed by them at the moment.
They're just amazing. They've got like a little bit of foam in the bottom, so they can't really dive. As long as you've got to get your feathering right, haven't you?
Of course, you've got to land them flat on the water, haven't you?
Definitely. So like what's happening, basically you're feathering it, that lands like that, float comes straight back up, and your hook bait's going past it. So I'm a big believer in these when I'm in sort of deeper water. I wouldn't necessarily use them in sort of like waters like Barson where it's shallow. I like to use, as I say, I go back to these ones again, so I can feather it in, it's making that little plop and it's coming up straight away. Again, if you're feathering it right and you're getting it to come up straight away, that's what you need. You don't want that float to settle, because a lot of the bites, don't they, Jay, they come instantly when you're casting it in.
You don't even see the bite almost, in it.
What about you, mate? I've seen you've got some different ones, obviously, the flighted ones and what have you.
It's the different venues that you fish. I couldn't agree with you more with the delicate, nice,
Have I got something right? Yes!
With the what's the...
Come on, Jay, spit it out.
To the wagglers.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. The amount of venues now, and especially on calm, sunny days in the summer, where you get little indications all the time with bigger wagglers, and you know they're having it.
That's it, it's them little dinks that you get. You've said it in one there, them little dinks that you get and you think, go on, have it, they're liners. Trust me, they're not. They're them big fish.
But with them, they look like a bite. They're a bite, aren't they?
100%. You get them like little dinks on it where the fish can feel the resistance of them big, like these things, these big traditional heavy floats, which a lot of anglers use, don't they? Feel the resistance of them. That's when you come onto something like this, a lot lighter, or something straight inserty, so they're not feeling the resistance.
Yeah.
So when would you use something like this then? Something like Boddington and all that?
Yeah, definitely. Boddingtons, that's what they're made for. They're made by the bailiff at Boddingtons. They're John Bonny's floats. They're for whenever, for me, they're for big, nasty, angry pellet waggler fishing. I mean, when it's really windy, when the fish are, they've got a lot of confidence because the weather's really bad.
Right.
There's no float that's going to hold better than a John Bonny. Even though I've got some great big ones up to about 10, 12, 15 gram in some huge things.
You're just a beast, man, aren't you?
Well, it's time and a place for the right float, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's choosing the right float with the right conditions. Today, it couldn't be worse. Do you know what I mean? I might as well throw a house brick in the lake. It'd be completely wrong for today. But in the right situation, I need the right float to be able to fish.
Are you not the same opinion as me, Jay? You know, when I see a lot of people fishing the pellet wagglers as coaches, they try and sort of put the biggest waggler on and try and get the bait as far as they can, don't they?
Yeah.
The whole sole purpose of waggler fishing is to fish and feed comfortably where you can get that bait. So that's why, you know, these lighter floats come into play. It's amazing. It does make a big difference.
Of course it does.
Jay, talk us through some of that. I see some big nasty shots on them. What are you playing on?
It's going back to what we just said about fishing a preloaded float. So
right, okay.
With a foam waggler,
there's
there's nothing lands nicer than a foam waggler.
No.
I mean, they sneak into the lakes. Mainly, I'd use these for me mugging. Not so much in the big sizes, but in the little small sizes, I've got the lad to make me them. The lad from Floats Directs makes me them in 2, 3 and 4 inch sizes.
Perfect. So that's not on your main line at all then? It's just sliding up?
Yeah, definitely. I've just got, I've got a little ditty shot underneath on the length of line with a swivel underneath it. So I've got 1 or even 2. For some reason, 2 shots always best, always casts a bit better.
Why ain't I got any of them? Come on, Si, sort it out, mate. How dare you?
But so they're nice for when it's really flat calm and more mugging, more throwing at individual fish. They're my pellet waggler of choice for doing that. Just because any proper loaded versions, they sink too quick.
Yeah, definitely. When you can see him like casting to cruising fish, then that's when he's coming to play.
Definitely, that's when me foamies come into play. Not very often, only on the special days.
Right.
But yeah, it's a nice waggler to have that. So Keith's, as good as they are, for me, they go in a little bit nasty if I'm trying to catch like 5, 6, 7 inches deep, really shallow.
Right, okay.
Then I want a float that's fishing instantly.
Right, yeah.
Rather than that's got a bit of weight that goes down. So Keith's has always been my choice for feeding. Whenever I'm feeding, fishing a waggler properly amongst me feed or around me feed, I'll always go with
it's that plop you get, and then you get the plop of your pellet, don't you?
Yeah, definitely.
That's what it's all about. Coming back to how the float lands as well, when you go down sort of south and, you know, Wiretakers festivals and all that, a lot of the southern anglers, they're really good at the pellet waggler. There's a lot of big fish down there. They'll always use sort of these kind of floats, and they'll always put big shots on, won't they? And the fish things like £3 Maxima. We'll come to the setup in a sec, but when they're landing the float, they don't really feather it, because that's why they're using a balsa float so it comes straight back up.
Yeah, it does the job for you almost.
That's it. Their way of thinking is, them southern folk, their way of thinking, when the float lands, the pellet lands right behind it. Obviously, the carp's coming into that splash, so you see that pellet falling nice and natural. Again, it comes back to what works for one and won't work for another. I've always wanted to feather it, so it's landing in that tight line, so your float's landing, your bait's getting protected past it, and you've got that tight line. Yeah, so when you get a bite, it's striking itself against a waggler.
Definitely, I'm on for that as well.
Mate, I think it's just the way.
In the original days, fish did use to come to the splash.
Definitely. I mean, they still will do, won't they? But it's just one of them. It's a setup and everything.
Yeah, it's keeping it as natural as possible.
Talking about setups,
have a look.
And we'll have a look at yours later, can't we? So feeder fishing. Remember, 0.22 main lines. That's sort of like the minimum I'd go. Now with waggler, it's a little bit different because I'm casting sort of lighter objects. Obviously, it's only a 4 gram float. This one. I don't want to be fishing too thick a line because of the friction for your rod rings. Cheeky! So I've only got a 0.20 main, well, say only, it's still pretty heavy, isn't it?
No, you got 0.20 still on that, yeah.
0.20, I don't really go any, they're trying to jump out of my net. I don't really go any lighter, and I certainly won't go any heavier than a 0.20. Rods are all important. Now these new MAP parabolics, the black edition rods, 12 footers, personally I don't think there's a rod better on it in the market.
No, I like them, yeah.
They're absolutely unbelievable in that they're a through action, they don't lock up, and you just get fishing really quick on them.
For this type of fishing, for carp waggler fishing.
Mate, they're absolutely
mixed
perfect.
Carp and F1 waggler
absolutely perfect. Right, so coming there, 0.20 main line, onto the hook length. Now you'll notice, getting on that ridge, it's a long hook length. I don't like to use short hook lengths on this. It's 0.20 again, so really strong. I don't fish any lighter than that. And you'll notice there, Jay, that I've got them 2 big loops on.
Yeah, you mentioned that before, yeah.
That's because obviously the friction through the water when that lands, it's that little bit thicker, it's going to fall a lot slower. So it's going to take my hook bait down a lot slower than what it should be doing. The business end, we've got a strong Gamma Power 14s hook on, and we've just got one of them Drennan mini bands on. You notice how many times, again, we've covered this before, haven't we? How many times I whip up that hook. So that band always stays there, and whip back down sort of 3 or 4 times just so it always stays in position. Now, the depth that you set your waggler, that's all dependent on the day, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, it's all dependent on the hour.
I mean, here, ultimately we're going to be on the bottom at that. You know, when that's settled, we're probably at what, 3.5 foot or something like that. But most of my fish today are coming, as soon as I fed it, casting straight into it, feathering it, they're coming literally as soon as that pellet plops. Now, that's your traditional way of pellet waggler fishing. That's how I like to fish.
Most venues respond to that as well.
Definitely, but again, that comes back to where, you know, experiment on the day, doesn't it, Day? You know, certainly with your feeding patterns, feed a couple of times, cast in, sometimes don't even feed, cast in.
Yeah.
The other way is what Jay's been doing. He's been getting a lot of his fish on the bottom is by feeding again once it's in and winding it back into it.
It's amazing me. I literally, with a slightly heavier waggler, whether that's making a difference, I'm not getting a bite on the splash ever.
Right, okay.
I literally haven't caught a fish. With 10 fish I've caught on the waggler, every single one has been on the twitch, feed over the top of it, twitch it back into my feed, and I've been getting a bite then.
Mate.
Whether it's because they're different fish, they've been small fish.
Right.
So whether they're responding to that.
I don't roll in small fish. I'll just roll in great big double figure ones, the big wobbly ones we've been catching. But I mean, I don't know whether it can come down to the waggler, because obviously mine's not making as big a splash. And
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
I'm not going to say it's going to spook him, because it doesn't, Jay, does it? I don't think. They're definitely homing on that noise.
Well, once they're feeding, yeah, they're not. As long as it doesn't hit them on the head, then they're not too bothered.
Is that not what you're supposed to do? We've done it a few times, haven't we?
Land it right on top of them. But yeah, as long as it doesn't land too close.
Right, come to the final setup, and now we put the float. It literally couldn't be simpler. All we've done, like we did before with the feeder setup, I've put one of them rubber attachments above the line, then I put my swivel on, and then I put 2 below. You always want to make sure there's at least 2 or 3 below, because that's where the force is coming from when you're casting. One above it's fine, and you can change depth in an instant like that. The swivel's all important, so I can change that float in an instant as well, and it doesn't get any simpler, Jay, does it?
No. So I'm nigh on exactly the same as you, other than, as I said before, I have my hook length full depth.
Right, well, we'll come and have a look at yours, mate, 'cause I'd like to see your setup, as you said before. You know, lads like Andy Power, if you like, you know, learnt a bit off them, and they're proper at this game, aren't they? They catch loads of fish on it.
But it's a bit nifty, old Andy, at the waggler fishing.
This is the main thing about this section. This is what we wanted to cover. It's wagglers. Yeah, they can proper baffle you, can't you? You go into tackle shops and there's so much choice there.
Of course they can. The ones in tackle shops are made to catch anglers and not fish often.
Definitely. It's like
right one,
them ones that are in the edge that we threw away before. That's them kind of floats. They sort of just wobble through the air. They don't go straight. Mate, you could, we could use them for chubbing that river in a bit.
Ooh, let's have some of that.
Should we?
Yeah.
Right, enough of this. Let's go and catch some chub.